Folks, welcome to episode 2 here of my restorative gardening program. And today I'm so excited about it because we are entirely focused on how to go about starting seeds indoors, which is really kind of like the beginning of the garden coming to life for this upcoming season. So can't wait to begin diving into all of that. And if this is the first episode that you're joining us for, I'm Jordan. I'm the founder here at Mind and Soil, where I'm looking to introduce 1 million individuals to gardening's mental health benefits. So if you're looking for more peacefulness, more joy, more restoration, then I really encourage you to kind of tune in for the different videos in this class, because all I'm hoping to do is help bring a little bit more peacefulness, a little bit more joy, and a little bit more happiness to your life here. Now, that is enough about me. I want to go ahead and begin diving directly into today's lesson, all on how to go about starting our seeds indoors. And the beauty of this, and kind of why I love it so much, is because there is no better feeling than seeing our plant babies break through the surface for the very first time. And that's something that each and every one of you are going to experience if you use the method that I'm going to outline today here. And after just a couple of weeks, that teeny tiny little seedling, it is going to be absolutely thriving, bursting at the seams and begging to be moved out into the garden. And so that's what I want to help bring to life for you over the course of today's lesson. And to do so, we're going to break it down into 2 big chunks. The first one is all going to be focused on the materials and what materials do you need in order to start seeds indoors. And then the second part of today's lesson is all going to be focused on the method and how to go about utilizing those materials so you can start your seeds and get a really high germination rate. And so with that being said, I want to dive straight into the materials that we're going to be utilizing. And I've got a little box here that we're going to go through. So our first material that we are needing to start seeds are, sure enough, seeds themselves. And so you're going to want to have a new fresh set of seeds in order to be starting your seeds indoor this season. And now if you haven't gone through episode 1 where we planned out our garden, I really encourage you to do so, because through that episode, we're going to walk you through step by step how to go about bringing a garden to life that brings you peacefulness or joy or happiness, as well as all of the vegetables, fruits, flowers that you want to be growing for this upcoming season. Now, the one encouragement that I do have for you on this front is just before you start any of your seeds, check the seed packs to see when those seeds were packed for. And if they are more than 3 years old, you might want to consider getting a new fresh set of seeds for this year. As seeds get older, they begin to germinate at a lower rate. So having new, fresh, well-stored seeds is going to ensure that you've got the highest germination rate possible. So seeds are all done. On to material number 2, and that is seedling mix, which we've got right here. So of course, for our seeds to germinate and begin growing, we're going to need to put them into something that will allow them to ultimately begin to grow. Now, what you might find at a lot of stores is something like this, which is a seed starting mix that you could utilize. However, the challenge with some of these store-bought mixes is that there isn't really any organic matter or the nutrients and microbial life that your plant babies are going to need to absolutely thrive. And that's why the worm casting seedling mix that I use here, it is full of compost, worm castings, and that means that it has all the nutrients, all the microbial life for your plant babies to really be thriving from day one. So my encouragement to you on this front is to ensure that your seedling mix that you utilize has both compost and worm castings in it, and your plant babies are going to be thanking you for it. So let's move our seedling mix to the side here and grab our third material, and those are seed cells. So ultimately, we've got our seedling mix now, we've got our seeds, we need something to put them in, and that's where the seed cells come into the play. Now, we've got these ones right here, but you're also probably going to come across something that looks more like this. And so this is like a 1-inch seed cell, and these are 3-inch seed cells. My personal preference here is to start everything in 3-inch seed cells. The reason for this is that we can fit multiple seeds in there to ensure that at least one of them germinates. It holds on to moisture for a longer period of time because there's less surface area for the air to be flowing through. And then ultimately, it saves us a step of having to move from a really small container like this into something of this size anyways. So save yourself the step, just start in 3-inch seed cells. A higher number of them are probably going to germinate because it's going to stay moist for a longer period of time, and you're going to save yourself a little bit of time as well. So those are our seed cells. The fourth material that we need, this one might surprise you a little bit, is a turkey baster. Now, why on earth are we going to be utilizing and needing a turkey baster? Well, for seeds to germinate, they need to be in a moist and warm environment. And the turkey baster is a really great way to kind of control the amount of water that we're putting into our seed cells. Additionally, it allows me to share with you exactly how many turkey bastes of water to be doing so that you get the highest germination rate possible. And lastly, as your plant babies begin to grow, the turkey baster becomes really nice for kind of weaving through the plants and getting water right down at the soil level so that it's ultimately getting absorbed by the roots. So it makes it really, really easy to getting the right amount of water and getting it right down into the soil level there. That is our fourth of only 6 materials that we're going to need. The fifth material here is a thermometer. So as I just mentioned there a second ago, for our seeds to germinate, they need to be in a moist and warm environment. So last year I did an experiment where I started seeds at 50 Fahrenheit, 60 Fahrenheit, and 70 Fahrenheit. And those that started at 50 Fahrenheit hardly even germinated versus those started at 70 Fahrenheit or 20 Celsius, they absolutely thrived. So having a thermometer is something that I always have on hand in my seed starting area. It allows me to ensure that that area is always at least 20 Celsius. And if that temperature ever drops below 20 Celsius or 70 Fahrenheit, then I have a small space heater that I keep in my seed starting area. They'll bring the temperature right back up to above 20 Celsius or 70 Fahrenheit. And again, once I saw those experiment results of just how much better they grew once it was at least 70 Fahrenheit, 20 Celsius, I knew that I needed to be keeping that temperature nice and warm for our plant babies. So the last and actually most important material that we need for indoor seed starting is this right here, the grow light. So I am an absolutely huge believer in utilizing a grow light for starting your seeds. Now you can start seeds in a windowsill. However, it's very likely that they will not get enough light and they'll become leggy. So they'll start leaning towards the window. That is a classic sign that they are not getting enough light. So I also did this as an experiment last year. And as you can see here, those that were in a windowsill really struggled, were really long and lanky versus those underneath the grow light were once again absolutely thriving, growing in a really, really nice manner with tons of foliage on them, which allowed them to then have a really great season growing in the garden there. So if there's one investment that you make this upcoming season in your indoor seed starting, I really encourage you to put any of those funds towards getting yourself a grow light. It's going to make a world of a difference with your plant babies and allowing them to really thrive from the very beginning here. Now, with that being said, we've got all of our supplies here. The next thing that I want to begin walking through is how do we actually utilize these? So the next portion of today's lesson is the actual steps and the method that we're going to utilize to ensure that you have a really high number of your plants germinating. So with that being said, I'm going to clear this all off and we're going to get started. All right, we are all set here. Let's start some seeds. And you're going to be blown away with just like how simple and how easy this is. So the very first step of this part of the process is to fill up our seed cells with the seedling mix. So all that I'm doing is grabbing handfuls of it here and pouring it into the seed cells until they're filled up. It's going to get a little bit messy here right now. And don't be worried if it is a little bit above the lip here. We're going to consolidate it in just a moment or two here. All right, so our seed cells are filled up here. Now the next thing that we want to do is just give them a little bit of a shake and then tap them a couple of times to consolidate the mix. So all that I'm doing is grabbing the seed cell here and I'm just giving it a little bit of a shake. And then again, I'm going to tap it 2, 3, 4 times. And as we can see, it's consolidated just a little bit there. I'm going to do that quickly with the rest of them. Perfect, those are looking great. The first step of starting our seeds is already done. The second step, all that we need to do is grab our turkey baster here, fill it up, and we're going to give each of the seed cells 1 turkey baste of water. So all that I'm doing is simply and easily just pouring that turkey baste of water into the seed cell. And we're gonna add more water as we go, but this is a really great way of doing it kind of in a step-by-step manner to ensure that the seedling mix gets nice and moist, because again, our seeds need that moist environment to ultimately germinate. Okay, perfect. Just like that, the first 2 steps are already done. On to step number 3, and that is to actually start getting our seeds into the seed cells here. So all that I'm going to do is open up the pack of seeds here, and then I'm going to pour about 5 of them onto my hand. So all I'm doing is just pouring, so I've got a little handful of them. There we go. And then I'm just going to place these into the seed cell, and I'm going to do it in a way where they're kind of spaced out evenly. So each of the corners, they're going to get a seed, and then one right in the middle as well. And again, the reason why we start 5 seeds per desired plant that we're hoping to have in the garden is because some of these might not germinate. So by starting 5 of them, it gives us the highest likelihood possible of getting all the plant babies that we want into the garden for this upcoming season. And it's very likely that if you follow this method, you're going to end up with way more plant babies than you need. In that case, just give those away to some friends. Pass along that gift of gardening. You're gonna spread a little bit of joy, get somebody else into gardening. It's a win-win all around. All right, let's get the rest of our seeds in here. Alrighty, so we've got 5 seeds in each of the seed cells. The next step here is to now put our second turkey base of water into each seed cell. So once again, all I do is fill up the turkey baster, and then I'm just going to pour 1 turkey base of water into the seed cell. And this is helping to get those seeds nice and moist, as well as the seedling mix, because again, remember, for the seeds to germinate, they need to be in a moist and warm environment. So we just go one by one, getting them all ready to start growing. Perfect, those are looking great. And folks, we are already on to our last step that we need to do in order to give these a super high likelihood of germinating. And so all that we're going to do is now cover them with just a little bit of seedling mix. So all that I'm going to do is grab a handful here. And for these smaller seeds, it's really like less than a ½ centimeter of seedling mix. So not very much at all, you know, only a really small little sprinkling there. And you can use your fingers to just kind of spread it around evenly so it's nicely covered. And then for our larger seeds, such as cucumbers or zucchinis, we can do a little bit more, closer to like a full centimeter worth of seedling mix. But on both instances, we're not looking to bury them very deeply here. Okay, got that one all covered. And we'll just quickly wrap up by doing the last few. Alrighty, the seeds are covered, and the very last thing for us to do is to give it its third and final turkey base of water. So I'm filling my turkey baster up, and I'm just pouring out a full turkey base of water onto each of the seed cells. And by doing these 3 rounds of watering, this ensures that we've put water into the seedling mix below where the seed is, directly on top of the seeds themselves, and then also on the seedling mix above them. So these seeds are absolutely covered with the moisture that they need in order to begin to germinate. And we're gonna chat about what to do from a watering perspective in just a minute here. Alrighty folks, so these babies are all set to begin growing. There's only 2 things that they need, and that is to be in a warm environment and in an environment underneath the grow light. So what I'm going to do is move these over to my seed starting station and clean up this area in the meantime. Alrighty, all nice and cleaned up here, and I think it's important that we spend a minute or two talking through really like what happens from here and how do we ensure that they begin to germinate. So now they're underneath the grow light there, and we want to leave that grow light on for about 12 hours per day. You could do a little bit less, you could do a little bit more. Personally, what I do is I use a little automatic timer so that they turn on in the morning at around 7:30 and they turn off in the evening around 7:30 p.m. so they get a full 12 hours worth of light every single day. Now, the second really important part is that we ensure that that area is, again, at least 70 Fahrenheit or 20 Celsius. So make sure that you've got your thermometer set up and that the area is in that range. If it does drop below that at all, I really do encourage you to use a little space heater to keep that area nice and warm. It's really going to help ensure that you get a nice and high germination rate on your seedlings. Now, the third piece that's really important to keep in mind is that, again, for seeds to germinate, they need to be in a moist and warm environment. And so we just gave those seeds 3 turkey bases of water, so it's nice and moist right now. However, most seeds take at least 5 to 14 days to germinate, and we need the seedling mix to stay nice and moist for the entirety of that time. So what you want to do is, after about 2 to 3 days, is go up to your seed cells and place the back of your hand on the seedling mix. If you can still feel moisture, then it's good. It's still got moisture in it. But if you don't feel any moisture, and if it's starting to look more like a milk chocolate or a lighter brown than a dark chocolate, and that is a sign that it's time to give them their next watering. And that's going to be 1 turkey baster per seed cell. So all that you do is you fill up your turkey baster, and then you simply pour the entirety of that turkey base of water into the seed cell before moving on to the next one. And that's really all that you need to be doing on every 2 to 3 days. So what I want to do next is actually fast forward to day 6 of these plant babies here. And what we can see on day 6 here is that sure enough, we have tons and tons of germination that has occurred. The basils come through, the zucchinis, the tomatoes, the cucumbers. This is exactly what you're going to be seeing with the seeds that you start indoors if you utilize the materials that I've outlined in this video so far and follow the method that I've been walking us through to this point. Now, if you do get to day 6 and nothing has germinated, there's nothing happening in any of the seed cells, then I really encourage you just to slow down for a moment and kind of check a couple of the key factors or variables. First, the seed packs. Are any of those seed packs older than 3 years old? If they are, then you might want to consider getting a new pack of seeds just to see if that might be the variable that's causing the problems here. Second piece is temperature. Keep an eye on that thermometer and check to see if at any points it's dropping below 70 Fahrenheit and getting significantly cooler than that. And then the third piece is just the moisture levels. So keep an eye on the moisture levels of your seed cells by putting the back of your hand on them to, again, be double checking to ensure that they are nice and moist at all times during the germination process. So if you don't have any plant babies that have come up, it's very likely that it's one of those 3 variables that is a little bit off and preventing them from ultimately sprouting and coming through the surface. But if you have been utilizing the method that I've outlined and the materials, then I highly doubt that that's going to be the case. And on day 6, you're going to have a whole ton of plant babies underneath your grow light. And so what happens from day 6 moving forward? Well, not very much changes. We leave them under the grow light for 12 hours per day. The one area that is going to be a little bit different is that as they grow and the root system develops, they're going to need more water. And so as you get towards day 14, day 15, consider increasing the amount of water from 1 turkey base of water every 2 to 3 days to now 2 or 3 turkey base of water every 2 to 3 days. Keep an eye on the seedling mix, and if you're noticing that it's starting to look more like a milk chocolate earlier or more quickly, then that's just a great indicator that it's time to give them their next watering. And so what I want to do now is fast forward to day 25 to check in on our plant babies, see how they're doing, and as we can see here, they are absolutely thriving. And folks, these plant babies, I started following the exact method that I've outlined in this video and using the materials that I've outlined in this video. The only change that I've made from day 1 until now is just increasing the amount of watering around day 14, 15, as I notice them needing a little bit more water as they start getting a little bit more mature. And so what happens from here? We're at day 25, our plant babies are thriving. What do we do with them next? Well, what we're waiting for is for the outdoors to get warm enough for us to begin transplanting them into the outdoors. And we're gonna do a whole lesson on how to go about that and when to go about doing that. But for the time being, let's operate off the assumption that it's still a little bit too cool for us to be transplanting them into the outdoor garden. However, the challenge is that they're starting to outgrow these tiny little 3-inch seed cells. So what we're going to do next is pot them up into larger seed cells. And so the first thing that you want to do is for any of your plants that are growing really well is actually flip them upside down so that you can pull the seed cell off of them and take a look at the root system. Now, if you notice that the roots are very apparent and they're starting to wrap around the inside of the seed cell, that is an absolute indicator that this plant is starting to get a little bit root bound and that we need to move it into a larger seed cell. So once you've identified that, then grab a larger seed cell, something that's maybe 6 inches in size opposed to the 3-inch ones that we've been utilizing. Once you have that seed cell, then fill it up about halfway with worm casting seedling mix. So the exact same seedling mix that you started these plant babies in is what we can be utilizing to be planting them up into now. And so with the new seed cell half full, grab the seedling and begin to gently massage the roots. So what you want to do is loosen up those roots so that they stop growing growing in a circle and start to grow into all the new space that they're going to have in their new temporary home before they get into the garden. And so once you've loosened up those roots, place it into the new seed cell right in the middle, and then begin to backfill the area around that plant with the worm casting seedling mix. And you're going to do that all the way up to about 1 to 2 centimeters from the top lip of the new seed cell. And then you're just going to tap the sides, or you can gently compact that seedling mix so it's nice and secure in there, not moving around, anything along those lines. And the last thing that you want to do with this baby is give it a really good big drink of water. So we were just massaging the roots and loosening them up, and that's a very traumatic experience for the plant to be going through. And the best thing that we can do for our plants after a traumatic event is to give them a really big drink of water. So don't be afraid to do 5, 6, 7, 8 turkey base of water now that it's in its new home. And once you've given it that really nice big drink of water, the last thing to do is pop it back underneath the grow lights. And we're going to continue to leave these on for 12 hours per day. So nothing is changing on that front. The one thing that does, again, continue to evolve is just the amount that we're watering them. So now they are much larger plants and they're in a larger container as well. So don't be afraid to increase the amount of watering that you do to up to maybe 4 or 5 turkey bases of water every time that you're doing watering with them. But with that being said, these plant babies have everything that they need in order to grow really, really well and totally thrive until it is warm enough for us to be transplanting them into the garden. And that's a great transition into the next lesson that we have planned, which is preparing the soil for the upcoming gardening season. So while our plant babies grow underneath the grow lights, we can be getting the outdoor garden all set and ready for their arrival. And then once the soil is all set and established, we're then going to go into lesson number 4, which is all around how to go about transplanting our babies into the garden to ensure that all of them survive and are ready for the variability and the intensity of the outdoor garden. But for today, folks, you have all the information, all the knowledge that you need in order to be starting your seeds indoors here. I absolutely guarantee and know with certainty that if you utilize those materials that I outlined at the beginning and then follow that super simple method for starting the seeds, you're gonna have a really, really high germination rate. And I can't wait for you to have that same moment of feeling your plant baby poke through the surface for the very first time. That's all for today, folks. I can't wait to catch you on lesson number 3 around preparing the soil for the upcoming gardening season. Until then, go get your hands dirty, and I'll catch you soon.